Hello, kids. How are you guys doing? So, today's story, we're picking up where we left off last week. If you remember last week, David had just killed Goliath, and everyone was like, David, 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 David. Right? They were so excited. They loved David. But where does that leave King Saul? King Saul, remember, he was big, had lots of muscles, very handsome. And yet, he wasn't the person God wanted to be king. God wanted David to be king. And so Saul, with all his muscles and good looks and strength and power, he couldn't defeat Goliath. Only David could. And so that left Saul feeling insecure. That means he was worried that the people would love David more than him. And he didn't want that. So he got an idea. I'm going to kill David. Even though he rescued us, I'm going to kill David because I don't want him to become king. Because I don't want the people to love him more than me. So Saul goes after David. Now, the problem is that Saul had a son, and his son's name was Jonathan. And Jonathan and David were best buddies, okay? And Jonathan didn't want anything bad to happen to David. So every time Jonathan heard about his father's plans to kill David, Jonathan would run out to David or figure out a cool way to send David a message, and he would say, you need to run away, right? My dad's going to come after you again. And so this went on for a while. David kept moving to different places. Saul kept figuring out where he was. Saul would come up with a plan to kill him. Jonathan would let David know, you got to run away again, and it would all start over again. Until finally, it came to the boiling point. It came to the climax where something had to break. Saul went looking for David himself with his army. And David and his men are hiding in a cave, right? Down way back in the cave in the dark where no one can see them. And Saul and his army are actually walking right past the cave when all of a sudden the call of nature comes to Saul. Saul has to use the restroom, right? And so he tells his army, he's like, well, there's some privacy in that cave over there. So I'm going to go use the restroom. Be right back. And so Saul goes into the cave and he finds a nice spot and he starts relieving himself. And David and his men are in the back of the cave and they see Saul come in. And Saul's back is to them. And he's in such a compromising position, right? They can easily go get Saul. And David's men are whispering and they're like, go get him right now, quick, go get Saul. Like, you can go do it. But David knows in his heart that that isn't what God wants. So David does creep up behind Saul and he slides out his dagger. But he does something unexpected. He cuts the end of Saul's cloak off. And Saul doesn't even notice. And so when Saul is finished, he leaves the cave. And he's about ready to go marching with his men again when David comes out. And he says, King Saul. And Saul recognizes the voice instantly and whips around. And he's about ready to send his army after David when David says, wait, look at what I have. And he holds up the piece of Saul's robe. And he says, Saul, when you were in that cave just now, I could have killed you. But that's not what I want. I am not your enemy. I am not your enemy. And it's almost like a veil was lifted from Saul's eyes when he sees the cloak. And he realizes he's been kind of crazy obsessed with this idea of David being his enemy, when in reality, it was all his own insecurity and worry, right? And so Saul says, David, you are truly a good man, a better man than I am. right? You are a godly man. And I know that one day God will make you king. And so I only ask this of you, right? Don't destroy everyone in my heritage. And that's like an easy answer for David, because David loves his son, Jonathan, right? And so David's like, of course. And so from that day forward, Saul recognized that David was the one who God truly wanted to be king, and he was okay with that. And David knew that he was now safe from Saul and all his crazy pursuits and crazy insecurities. So that's the story for today. Next week, we'll talk about God's promise for David, right? God's promise for David as David is about ready to become the king of Israel. So that's it for this week. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're finding fun stuff to do. I hope you're being good to your parents and your siblings. I hope you know that I miss you, and I cannot wait to see you soon. Goodbye.